Are you looking for a new audio drama? Are you looking for something funny? Then look no further, because Atlas Avenue Beat is a film noir spoof like no other. James Locke is a private investigator with a new case every season. And while he may not be the best PI, he always gets the job done. Interrogating witnesses, fighting baddies, and sleuthing like there's no tomorrow. Locke is always hard at work. If this sounds like the audio drama for you, go to 7lamb.com or search Atlas Avenue Beat wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey, Amber Simpson.
Hey, Robert Lamb. Good start.
So, last night, I had a dream.
You had a dream?
I had a dream that we were going to celebrate MLK Day
Wow.
today. And is that what we're going to do?
That is what we're going to do. Is it because you knew which day of the month it was?
Hey, everyone. This is Will There Be Cake, and I'm Robert. That's Amber. And yes, we are celebrating MLK Day because that's what day it is. And why not?
Because that's what day it is, and we still, need
We
to
celebrate
fight
some
for...
serious...
Yeah, we do.
Some serious holidays every once in a while. So this is one that's not
This
as...
is an important one.
It's not like a
especially-
Dragon Day or whatever we celebrated recently.
Especially since, before 2020, we thought we were progressing with this racial equality stuff, but then 2020 happened, and we're like, shit, what happened? We just lost like 40 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it was rough.
It's rough, but it's fine. That's why MLK Day is celebrated.
Well, and for some people who may not know, MLK is not just a street in your city. It stands for something. And what does it stand for? And I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean, what does that name mean?
Okay. Martin Luther King Jr.
Martin Luther King Jr.
Good man. Good man.
Good man. For civil rights.
He was an influential civil rights leader. In case you didn't know, hopefully you know this.
I think hopefully if you're listening to this podcast, you're grown up enough to know who
best
it is.
known for his work on racial equality and ending racial segregation in the United States.
Yeah.
So today we are celebrating his life and achievements that he made.
Don't they normally do like the parades and stuff?
Yeah, so I looked it up this year.
They're not going to do them.
They are, but it's going to be. So this year, everything in St. Pete was a digital version,
Right.
So there's a virtual version. So like on New Year's, they did a virtual fireworks, and it was funny because, the fireworks obviously didn't happen on New Year's Day, but you could go online and watch them happen, and they recorded them like 3 weeks before New Year's Eve.
So why not just do them on
Just
New Year's
like
Eve and
on a
Friday
rant,
night?
I know, because then people didn't know about them, so there wasn't a bunch of people down there, getting together, spreading COVID to each other. But it's funny because my friend was like downtown when they were doing it. It was just like a random day, like 3 weeks before New Year's, and there's fireworks going off, and he recorded them. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Like, what are we celebrating?
So I'm curious if they're doing the same thing. If they're gonna have this MLK parade before MLK Day. I don't know. We'll have to see. But anyway, they are having a virtual MLK Day parade, and there's other events. There's a MLK Day of Service History Hunt, which you can go online and figure out what that is, because I have no idea. There's a Dream Big Creative Dance Showcase that's at Campbell Park Football Field with limited capacity. And there's a virtual Dream Big Youth Awards banquet that you can watch. So those are the St. Pete MLK Day. Usually the parade is pretty big here.
Yeah.
But
that's crazy.
It sucks that it's not happening this year, but it's totally understandable.
I
But yeah, let's talk a little bit about
Martin
how
Luther
MLK Day
King.
came to be and Martin Luther King. We're not going to go into like super big details.
Yeah, you can always Google it.
Because that should be part of the way you celebrate today, is to learn about MLK.
You should have learned a little bit in school.
Yeah, probably.
Just a little.
But after his death, U.S. Representatives John Conyers and U.S. Senator Edward Brooke introduced a bill to Congress to make his birthday a national holiday. It first came to vote in the U.S. House of Representatives in 1979, but of course it fell 5 votes short in the number needed to pass. So the people that didn't pass it, argued that a paid holiday for federal employees would be too expensive, and that it honored a private citizen that wasn't even in office. A bunch of racist ass shit. So soon after, the King Center looked for support from a corporate community and the general public, and a lot of it, Stevie Wonder really helped with this. He released this Happy Birthday single to popularize the campaign in 1980 and hosted the Rally for Peace press conference in 1981. And 6 million people signed this petition for Congress to pass the law. It's considered the largest petition in favor of an issue in U.S. history. It's a lot of people, 6 million signatures.
A lot.
President Reagan originally opposed the holiday because of the cost concerns, of course. But in November 2nd, 1983, Reagan signed the bill proposed by Representative Katie Hall to create the federal holiday honoring King. And it passed the Senate by a count of 78 to 22, in the House of Representatives by 338 to 90. And it was observed for the first time on January 20th, 1986. It's always observed on the third Monday of January, which is instead of just directly on his birthday, because it follows the guidelines of the Uniform Monday Holiday Act.
That's 1 year before we were born.
1 year before we were born. But it wasn't even until, I think, 2000 when all 50 states started celebrating it. Yeah.
Wow.
But he was born January 15th, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was, I mean, I guess I just forgot. I didn't realize he was born in Atlanta, Georgia.
He is, what was that movie? Let me see. Selma.
Yeah.
Selma came out. That's actually a pretty good movie about like the march through Selma and stuff, and about Martin Luther King. It's pretty depressing, obviously.
It's good.
A lot of those movies are.
It's speaking of if you live somewhere with an AMC theater that is open right now, they are doing special showings of Selma and another movie to celebrate MLK Day.
Really?
Yeah, I forget. But anyway. So, of course, I'm going to bring up the 250,000 people who marched on Washington for jobs and freedom, where he delivered his "I Have a Dream" speech. Yep, on the steps.
That's where that came from.
Of the Lincoln Memorial. Wow. So, a fun fact about that is a lot of people are familiar with the speech, but very few people know that the "I Have the Dream" portion was entirely improvised. If you watch the video of him, you notice him reading for the first few minutes, and then he kind of pauses, and his good friend and gospel singer Mahalia Jackson yells out, "Tell him about the dream!"
Oh wow!
And then at that moment, he took the crowd to church, and he preached to a diverse crowd of supporters about his dream for a better and nonviolent future. Yeah. But it was, speaking of Selma, the Selma March was 25,000 people. And it was a political march from Selma, Alabama to the state's capital in Montgomery, occurring from March 21st to the 25th in 1965. And it was led by Martin Luther King Jr. And it was a bunch of events of several emotional weeks, during which demonstrators twice attempted to march but were stopped, once violently by local police. Mm-hmm. And there's a 50-mile march, and it directly led to the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
When did he die? He was killed. He was shot, sadly. I want to say it was around that time, though.
Oh, yeah, there's no date on this fact that I'm reading, but
I'll look it up.
Speaking of his assassination, he made a speech right before it happened, And he said there's like some foreshadowing to his death, which is kind of crazy. He said, like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. And then someone murdered him.
Yep, he is murdered April 4th, 1968. I see. I was trying to find.
Martin Luther King went to jail 29 times.
Yeah.
That's a lot of times.
For just protesting and all that kind of stuff.
Of course.
He wasn't like stealing cars or something. Like he was just fighting.
Guy.
It was just civil rights back then was rough.
Yeah. 6 years before his I Have a Dream speech, he did another speech at the Prayer Pilgrimage for Freedom in 1957. He skipped grades 9 and 12 and enrolled in the Morehouse College in 1944. He was only 15 years old when he started college.
Wow.
And he was given the name Michael King Jr. at birth, but his father changed his own name as well of his sons to Martin Luther after the Reformation leader.
Wow. Sorry. I was also looking up James Earl Ray was the guy who was convicted of killing King at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee.
Damn. Did he like shoot him as he was walking out, or did he like go into his hotel
I think
room?
he shot him when he was outside. That's what I vaguely remember. I could be wrong though. I don't see it on here. Yeah, because he probably still had plenty of years to keep fighting if that didn't happen. But sadly, when you're a political figure like that, without the security during that time period, it's Martin Luther King knew that there was a chance that that would happen.
Mm-hmm.
But all of his stuff he stood for still applies today.
And he inspired a bunch of people, and he still inspires a bunch of people.
And I've always thought, like, there's a reason, not to get too political, but there's a reason why even people who, how do I word this? he appeals to a wider variety of people, I think, because of his peaceful protests.
Yeah.
And whenever something bad happens and there's, like, riots or whatever, there's always, like, those far right people, and I'm not saying this is all right people, but far right who say things like, well, why couldn't they do it peacefully? Why couldn't they? And they always look to Martin Luther King. So for good or bad, yeah, Martin Luther King always did try to protest. He didn't want to be violent or anything. He didn't want to fight back against the brutality that he was experiencing.
Right.
But also he was murdered. So there's kind of like that fine line where, like, you know, when people are fed up, they do things, and sometimes it's not always the best things. But his whole preaching piece, and even when they were getting attacked and he's not fighting back and stuff, I think that is important to an extent too, because then you get people who listen to you on both sides of the spectrum because you're not being violent back, and it doesn't turn into just this back and forth. So there's good and bad to it, but
I agree.
It's just funny. So
crazy stuff. So happy birthday, Martin Luther King. Even though it's not today, it was like 4 days ago.
Yeah.
But we miss you. We appreciate you. And we're continuing to pass on your message and trying to improve the world. And maybe sometime this year it'll get a little better. And
in honor of you, we'll have some cake.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have
some
birthday. Cake. It's his birthday. You can't not have cake.
We'll have cake today.
Watch
Selma.
The Selma and the parade online.
Yep. Watch.
Maybe
even his speech.
Yeah.
Watch on YouTube.
Yeah. Or just there's probably so many documentaries.
Oh, there's a ton of them. Yeah.
So many documentaries.
There's a lot of stuff you can watch to further your mind, and movies, or like you said, the parade. So do any of those things, and then also have yourself some cake, and understand that he was an important figure in history.
Faux show.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess that does it for this day. We hope you guys have a good day and get some cake.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
This has been a Seven Lamb production.